All right, folks. Welcome back. It's been about 2 week hiatus. I just got busy with everything. So if someone joins me, cool. If someone doesn't, I got about maybe 15 to 20 solid minutes before I'm going to have to move on. So I think that's actually just the right amount of time to get into the thing that I wanted to focus on today, which is a particular phase within the game, um, which is called the reform phase. Now, right here, handy dandy rules. Actually, I'm kind of proud of the way that I wrote the rules. They're really designed that here's how you play the game in 2 pages. Here's the army list to build your list. Now go at it. And then the rules are towards the back of the handout, the PDF. And the reason why is because like I've discovered this. It's like I just like want to get into the game. So let me get into the game. Don't let me skip through the pages. Enough of that. The pages and the game itself. The strategy phase is one whole round. You have the battle phases throughout one strategy phase. And then at the end of the strategy phase, you have, or the strategy board phases, it goes from initiative to activation phases to the reform phase. And that's one of the most important phases that I think breaks away from what I've seen any other game do at the end of a round. Usually it's called the maintenance phase or the cleanup phase or the end of turn phase, which is, take off the dead bodies, figure out who has poison, who has whatever effects. And it's like a pretty like quick and fast thing. There's not actually huge decisions being made unless like there's one particular game rule. In Rebels and Rogues Tactics, the reform phase is probably going to be one of the most important, especially in later game, because I came up with the idea of the biggest thing about playing a game like Old World or I even want to say 40K or Conquest is you have all these different units that activate separately and they never really interact directly with each other. So like you have a unit of spearmen and a unit of bowmen, and they're never together. But the squads that I've made are very heterogeneous. They can be pure, but you actually tend to end up with a lot of different mixed units. And so what happens when, or mixed squads, what happens when squads start losing and start actually like, not having something like work out for it? Do you just keep pushing them until they're all dead? And I was like, that kind of is a want. That's like a letdown. So I thought in the reform phase, using a commander's gumption, wouldn't it make sense that you could reform the squads into different units? Well, no, you could take the units from different squads and make them into new squads. So sometimes you're like, I'll keep this squad with 3 strong, and I'll keep this solitary unit who lost a squad here. But then you realize, wait. I actually want that unit in this squad, and I'll take this one out. So that way there's a little bit of interchange, because through here I can do a good combo. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to test out if the actual like mechanic works, and we'll see from there. So from here, okay, I'm trying to think what's the best way to show this, because I'm going to take off the trees and risk a little bit of damage to the thing itself. Okay. It's fun because there's nothing really dedicated. Okay. So, right there. Maybe this will work. I'm going to have to duck down like this, or you're just going to have to get used to seeing like this portion of my body. Okay. So what we have here is we have this unit. Let me see. This is the fun part about it being live. No, we need this angle. Okay, I'll just be off screen so that way you can see it no matter what. Okay. There we go. This is silly, but this might actually be the best way to actually stay on camera and not have to deal with it. Part of doing this developer diary series is actually just being like very present to the constraints of doing bootleg videos and why production value matters so much. So on top of that, like one thing that I'm like learning to do is let me know if the sound is off at some point. I'll check the sound later, so I might have to redo this. Here we go. Okay, so we had the reform phase. We're gonna skip over the St. Falls because, for lack of a better reason, the commander's here, and then all the way over here is this unit or this squad. And the problem with that is he's too far away. Commanders have a range of 2 hexes around them. They can do a gumption test to see if they can reform squads. So really the ability to reform is built around where your commander, your general, the person or the unit that's in charge of the battle group is. And this is kind of like, okay, so we're about to go into turn 2. What do we want? We have a full squad here and 2 here and the commander here. So the commander can easily do this. If I remember the rules correctly, the commander can join the unit without any issue. And so now he's a part of this unit. So this unit has fundamentally, or the squad has fundamentally changed because it now has an additional thing where before there was something heterogeneous. But say if I wanted to do this ability where I wanted this squad to move into this squad. So they would have to test using the commander's gumption. So it's like, okay, what do I want? Do I want to put an orc sprinter or an elder, or do I want to put the 2 dwarfs together? Or do I want to switch the telekinetic into here so that way we can get that? Now, I can't remember the combos that I've built in, the Tories and the Yamas. So I'm just going to do it and show it. So let's see. Scroll up a little bit or put this up a little bit so that way that we're good. Hopefully you can still see my eyes and I don't have to bend down so much. So the Trailblazer has a gumption of 3. So the higher the gumption, the better it is on a dice to roll. So it's pretty simple, but you can still fail. So you have a 50-50 chance at a gumption of 3 of being able to do this. On the strategy map, the Trailblazer can draw from any squads within 1 hex and space. Okay, no, that's not it. Okay, so here we go. Actually, let me see. I have the rules here somewhere, but I think I'm not going to focus. I'm getting distracted because I'm out of practice. Just like painting, just like hobbying, make sure that you always like just do things routinely so that way you can learn them. We're just going to do it using the commander's gumption test, the Trailblazer's gumption of 3. We're going to switch this unit into this squad. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, 2. So he rolled under it because the better the gumption, the lower the higher the gumption, it makes sense. The higher the gumption, you want to roll under it because the lower the gumption, it would reverse. And hopefully that weird mechanic, because I found the same issue with like games like what is it? Infinity, where you want to roll. You used to want to roll over a number for the armor attack, and then they flatten out where it's always roll under, roll under, roll under. Conquest does that. Old World does that. So hopefully this mechanic isn't too confusing because it's like everything you're trying to roll over except for the gumption test, you want to roll under. So he has a gumption of 3, so he's able to move the squad into this. Okay. And then they want to move here, and so they're going to still use the Trailblazer's gumption to do that because now they both want to move into that squad. So we do that again. 2. So now these 2 units move into this squad, or if I wanted to, put it right there. So see how it's kind of like consolidating your units into squads. So that way, even though it's a battle of attrition, even though you're going to be losing units. You might not be losing your complete and full offensive strength, because you're looking at the ability to kind of like the ebb and flow of battle. And this is something I took from Middle Earth strategy battle game, which is like the lines are getting pushed back and forth like 1 inch and so forth. And so you see the battle line forming. With the reform phase, there's more control over that because they're about to gather. They're kind of like rallying, but in a meaningful way. And my argument for why it's actually a really possibly like trend-setting mechanic is because, okay, I can bring it back here and just talk to the screen. So that was the reform phase. Pretty simple. The reason why I think I always kind of am like, okay, this is where it's not fun, is because in real combat, like units, like troops that are fleeing from fights, they're just carrying the weapons they're carrying, and then they encounter their allies, and then they pair up with them, and you always have mixed arms. Sometimes everyone's armed the same way, but like, it's like when you watch movies, there's the guy with the axe, the guy with the bow. Like it's like a party versus these pistoliers and these halberdiers. They will run through each other, encounter each other, but they will never be together. The closest that you get, I think, is with Empire and detachments, but then the detachments work the same way. If the sword masters or the sword guys interact with the archers or the crossbowmen, they don't join. They just kind of actually cause each other panic when they run through each other, which is never a good thing. So I'm hoping the reform phase, what it does for people thinking is like, okay, if I've lost this in turn 1, 2, and 3, I've actually set myself up to be able to reform a unit into a squad like this, turn round 4 or 5. So I have a really nasty combo waiting at the end of the game. So not to steal it from you, Shay, if you see this, but it's building towards maybe a crescendo or like a limit break, like where, like in the Final Fantasy games, like the more damage you take and the closer you are to dying, the meter starting to build up for you to unleash a super powerful attack. That's where this idea is coming from. So that's it, the reform phase. Super fast, super quick, each person gets to go, and we're done. I think what I want to do, because it worked out too simple, is just go back to the rules and flesh it out and take care of it. That's it. No one joined, but I hope everyone sees this. We've talked about just the general game itself. We've talked about the combat phase with the Tories and the Yamas and like the intermixing. We've talked about the reform phase. And that's the game loop. Or I think I saw a video just recently, not a loop, but it's just like the routine and the process. And once you get into the process, the list building is where you experience the creativity. And then the squad building and the squad reforming is where you continue that creativity. Like, I hope it works out. So send any questions. If this is your first time watching one of my live videos or streams as just a regular video, like and subscribe, send me some questions. It's going to be a bit before I have some like fully playtestable rules, but I think by January, if anyone's interested in trying it out on their own, I'll have more documentation up so that way you could play the rules with any miniatures that you can combine together. Although I will have, I think, a page of resources. Like you'll want to use where I got this from, or where I got the hexes from, if you're a 3D printer. Maps, we'll see. That might be an active resource for me to research as I go. So thank you. See you on the next side. Thank you for just being supportive.